What's up, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of Bricks and Toys. And in today's episode, we're going to be going over the second part of the brand new January 2026 Speed Champions Wave. And today's sets are going to be set number 77255 Lightning McQueen at 270 pieces. And then we're going to have set number 77256, Time Machine from Back to the Future with 357 pieces. And then lastly, we have the 77257 McLaren W1 with 287 pieces. I really think today we have a very interesting lineup of Speed Champions. Like all three of these, I am genuinely super excited for, and uniquely, all for completely different reasons. So starting off with the Lightning McQueen. This is a 9 and older set. This one is, well, it's Lightning McQueen. And can you believe that it's been almost a complete 20 years in June? It'll be 20 years since life was a highway and you went to Radiator Springs with Lightning McQueen. I cannot believe that. That was a long time ago. This movie was an odd one for me because when it came out, I was 15 and I was kind of thinking, I should be getting out of Pixar movies by now, right? And it wasn't until I got a couple years older that I realized that you never grow out of Pixar movies. You just grow old, and then you have kids and you enjoy them with your kids, and that's just the way life goes. So for me to be into the movie Cars at 15 was completely normal, even though I wasn't in it like a normal kid would be. But you know what? It was still really cool. I liked Cars 2, and I watched Cars 3 when it came out, but nothing hits like that original Cars. And I think that's because the main storyline of that movie we can all relate to. We all kind of just need to slow down just a little bit. Going back and checking out this box of Lightning McQueen, of course, he's on a racetrack, as Lightning McQueen does, and you can see the spectators, which looks to be members of the Cars movie, like the audience Cars. So it's all fit and tied in correctly with the theme there, so it can't go wrong there. It does say we can build as 1 to 2 people, but you have to use the app for that, and they all say that. It has the Lego and Speed Champions logos, but up here at the top we can see that it does have the Cars logo, and then we have the 20 at the bottom to remind us that we're all 20 years older from when this movie came out. Like, we really need to be reminded of that, right? Lightning McQueen on the box looks phenomenal. He does have some stickers mixed in with his prints. It is what it is. Moving over to the side of the box, we got the country of origin, do not eat it. On the side of the box, got a side profile of Lightning McQueen, which looks awesome. On this side of the box, we got another picture of Lightning McQueen with all of the logos. On the bottom of the box, we got the Legal Eagles barcode, all of that good stuff. And then on the back of the box, we got a back shot of Lightning McQueen, and we got a picture of him in the movie. And then we got an up-close shot reminding us that there is stickers on top of prints, and that completes our Lightning McQueen set. And then we move into our next. If you guys are long-term supporters of the channel, Back to the Future, Fast and the Furious franchise, those are like my top 2 go-tos for car movies. There's really no need to introduce this one. It's a time machine in the Speed Champions scale. That's all you really need to say. So really cool to see a little version of this set come to the light after having the Icons version for 4 years almost now. Wow, March will be 4 years since the Icons version of this came out. That's time flies, literally. Looking at the box, we can see that they are lighting up the tires. Not quite sure where they're at. Maybe downtown Hill Valley. It's kind of hard to see. It's all blurred in there. We have the Back to the Future movie logo up in the corner. 9 and older set. The car on the box looks pretty decent. There are 2 things about this build that I do not like, and I'm not going to say what they are just yet because then that kind of ruins the video, but we will get into that later on. Now, looking at the side of the box, we got a picture of the car and of course the Lego logos and all of that. Moving over to this side of the box, country of origin and our do not eat it. Looking at the top of the box, we got a wonderful side profile of the build. Side profile wise, the car does look pretty good. Just something when it gets to this angle. Looking at the bottom of the box, we got our app.com information, recycling, legals, all of that. And then on the back of the box, we got a back shot of the car. Then we have a picture that says that this is a 2-in-1, but not 2-in-1 at the same time. And what that refers to is the wheels being assembled where they go basically into flying mode, or if they go into the traditional mode. And maybe flying mode with this might be a good idea because of, well, we'll talk about it when we get there. And then we have our last picture on the box, which shows the dash, of course, with all the dates. The plutonium meter is on there. And of course, we got the Doc Brown minifigure. And this also comes with a Marty McFly minifigure. So we get 2 new minifigures from Doc and Marty, which are awesome. And then lastly, we have the McLaren W1, which is one of the new Halo cars from McLaren. Ferrari's got the F80. We'll probably get that in Speed Champions later this year. But for now, we have the McLaren. And I think the McLaren is so far the better one of the 2 Halo cars. We do have the Lamborghini Revolto, which is also a new Halo car. But I think we've already built that out of Lego somewhere up here. But checking out the car on the box, the car itself looks great. It's orange, it's black, it's McLaren. Perfect. The car looks to be over some sunset in the hills on a public road. So it is a street car, so I would expect that. Other than that, we got the McLaren logo, Lego Speed Champions logos. Pretty standard issue stuff. Looking at the side of the box, country of origin and our do not eat it. Top of the box, side profile of the car, which is looking really freaking good. And then we have another picture of the car with the Speed Champions logos and stuff on this side. And then coming to the bottom of the box, legaleaglesapp.com, barcode and all of that. Looking at the back of the box, we have a back shot of the car. We have a picture of the actual W1. And then we actually have a feature being showed with the rear spoiler moving in and out. And that is the McLaren W1. Now, all 3 of these cars do sell for $27.99, and they are currently for sale from Lego, and I believe really anywhere that sells Speed Champions that have them in stock. Very interesting lineup here, guys. Super excited to get into it. Let's unbox each and every one of these sets. So starting off with Lightning McQueen, 1 punch tab, and then we're open. What you guys see? Oh, paper bags. Okay. Well, it took us all month of building Lego, and we got our first paper bag set of the new year, so that's awesome. Let's go ahead and do our pour. I tell you, the pours just don't have the same effect when they're in paper. But we have our book, we have our stickers, and we have our bags. These being the paper bags, we can stand them up just like that, which is kind of cool. But in total, we're going to have, I believe, 5 bags total, indeed. Looking at our sticker sheet, we're going to have 22 stickers in total. Looking at these, I don't see doubles with a quick glance, but there you go. The stickers like the eyes, the numbers, the hood, all of that, all stickers. So this is going to be interesting to get straight and square when we get the car actually built. Looking at our book, we got a QR code to get our points, which should just go pretty much into the build after some promotional advertisement. We do have the 1-to-1 of Lightning McQueen to Lego to the real thing. It tells us how to build this with family if we chose to. And then finally, by page number 8, we are off and building the car. And then we finish up with 101 pages, but on page 100, we get our step 130 to complete this build. So only 130 steps and 100 pages in total. And that is our Lightning McQueen. And then we move into the Back to the Future. So we're gonna have a punch tab here that you guys are gonna have a first look inside. And now we're back to plastic, it feels like. Let's do our pour. There we go. And we have our pour. So we do have to be careful when pouring out this set because we do have some loose elements. These are probably going to be for all the side piping that goes down the car for the electrical system and all of that. So we want to make sure we don't lose that. Sticker sheet looks actually kind of small. We'll get to that in a second. As far as bag count goes, we got 2, 4, 1, and 5, and 3 with a chassis element. So we got 5 bags total to get this one built. Now, we do have some paper bags hidden within the set. So looking at our sticker sheet, looks like we're going to have 6 stickers total. Not too bad. And then let's check out our book. We're going to have our QR code to get our 20 points. Opening up our book, we got the same promotional materials. If you bought this one, buy the other ones. Then we have a 1-to-1 of the movie with the actual Lego car. Then we show into the family of how to build it with multiple people. And by page 8, once again, we're building Marty McFly with bag number 1, getting this party started. Our last step is going to be step 116 on page 130 and 31. So we have about 131 pages and 116 steps, but we do have some instructions on how to remove the windscreen and the minifigures, and also the wheels and all of that. Probably coming sometime soon, actually. I didn't think about that. But that's on page 132 and 133. And that is our time machine. Lastly, the McLaren W1. And I'm going to save plastic bags with this one too. So we're going to have our single punch tab. I'll go ahead and rip that thing open for you guys. let you guys get a first look inside the box. Let's do our pour. Yep, plastic bags once again. And we do have an even smaller sticker sheet with this set. So far as bag-wise goes, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 once again. And then we go back to our little bag of our 2 different types of wheel elements. In the last set of videos, I built one of the cars, and the wheel elements actually came in with bag number 5 and not in its separate perforated bag with another style that you can choose from. I found that interesting, but I see we're back to normal with this one. We do have a chassis element floating around. Our sticker sheet is a whopping 4 stickers. Not bad at all. And then our book has its QR code for its points. And then it goes with the Lego Builder. And then it shows the real car with the Lego car. And then this time by page 6, so less BS, I guess, in this book, we're building our minifigure on bag number 1. Our last step is going to be step 87. So this is like the lightest build of them all on page 98. So we got 87 steps, 98 pages, some instructions on page 99, and a finishing photo on page 100. Our promotional stuff is actually in the back of the book, not in the front like it was with the others. And guys, that is our second wave of Speed Champions. They're all introduced, they're all laid out. The only thing left to do now is to actually get down and build these sets and enjoy them. But for you guys get to see what I think about them completely built, well, right here in the review segment. Okay, everybody, we have all of our cars built. They look incredible. We're doing a lot better than the first half of this video, which was the F1 car, Ferrari, and Bugatti. The Ferrari and Bugatti were cool, but man, we got it on this one for sure. So let's begin this with Lightning McQueen right here. We're going to go over some Easter eggs. We're going to go over what we like and what we found out about building this car. And to do that, we're going to start off in the instruction manual. So here in the book, on step number 3, or bag number 3 on page 58, we can see that we are building something pink in the center of Lightning McQueen. Now, we're going to get into the construction of Lightning McQueen when we review the car, but this car is all brick built, and I have a really interesting theory as to why, and it has to do with that big pink chunk in the middle. They did not forget to leave out his basic heart. And I think that is, well, a really freaking cool detail. And in terms of really good details, now let's check out the actual car. Okay, and here we have our Lightning McQueen. Now we're just going to go over our stickers to our printed elements, and then we'll go over some building techniques and what is really cool about this car. Now, beginning here at the side, we have this awesome lightning side stripe that is oh so familiar. Unfortunately, these 3 elements right there on the side are all stickers, but we do have printed elements right on these 4 parts, this little part being hidden right by the 95, and that's going to be our stickers to our printed pieces on the side, and that goes for both sides of the vehicle. We also have printed sidewalls of Lightyear on the tires. Now looking at the roof of the car, we have stickers everywhere you see here. Nothing is a print. Not the hood, not the eyes, not the headlights, not any bit of this on the roof or the rusties on the deck lid. Now coming over here to the back of the vehicle, everything you see back here is a sticker, no prints. So the taillights, the center, all of that, all stickers. Coming over here to the front, well, there is no stickers. We just have a brick-built mouth. And we do have an interesting hinge technique to where you kind of make them talk. But that's not really how it works in the animation department. There is one more print that I almost forgot about, and that's that gray section right on that windscreen element that the eyes are on both sides. And that is to bring that dark bluish gray windows into the side of the car. Now, talking about the windows of the car, I really like the back part of this car. Lego used to make brick-built letters, and the way that they did it was by using plates and stuff stacked up very nicely to make the letters. Was it kind of chunky? Yeah. But did it look cool and work? Oh, yes. And we can see that technique used from all those years ago into today with this back window. This is 2 pieces stacked up precisely to make that rear window shape and the lines going through it for the rear structure of a race car rear window. So very cool technique on that. Now, the interesting thing about it is, though, it is built into the wing here. With this piece pulled off, you can lift all this up, and it looks rather weird. But this piece does lock it all down nice and tight. Now, one last thing about details to prints in this car, and I'm going to tell you why I don't care about stickers with this car, and that is because if you watch Cars, what is the nickname of Lightning McQueen among the folks at Radiator Springs? They call him Stickers. And I would not be satisfied if everything on this car was a print, because for one, it is a race car. Race cars have stickers. And for two, that was his name among the folks at Radiator Springs when you watch the first movie. So the sticker element is just awesome if you think about it in that light. Now, another thing I want to talk about is his build. Now, if you look at the bottom of him, we have a drive shaft, we have exhaust pipes, we have some details on each side. We also have what looks to be where the fuel cell would go right there. So we have a completely brick-built chassis on this car. And I think that's a really interesting thing to think about, because he does not come with a minifigure, because there is no people in the movie Cars. He is a living, breathing character, and because of that, I like to think that they did the all brick built chassis and everything, because it's kind of like a Brickheads type situation of where you have a living character and you want to build it solidly out of brick like they do the Brickheads. And I think that's kind of why this whole thing is built solid out of bricks. They could have easily used the chassis like they do any Speed Champions, but they chose not to. And it was such an interesting build to get this one done, and I have so much respect for it, and I really like it a lot. The last things I want to talk about is going back to the tires. The tires are using like those F1 tire slicks, which is fitting. This is a race car, but we do have these nice red rims in place of black, tying it all in together. And I really do like the little brick built mouth with the white teeth and all of that. Just really cool. I could talk about this one for a good fair minute. Really happy that we finally have a updated Lightning McQueen. Now we got some minifigures, and that's because we're jumping over to the time machine from Back to the Future. Here we have Doc, and we're looking at his minifigure here. He does have a printed back and front torso. He is an all-white character. He is the one chosen to hold the wrench that comes with these sets. And besides that face you see him rocking right there, we can turn the hairpiece around and you can see that he has his bandaged up forehead from 1955 for his secondary face. And then surprise, surprise, we have a secondary minifigure with this set, and it's Marty McFly. And here he is featuring a lighter blue leg with a darker blue torso with different colored arms, front torso print, and I believe on the back behind the vest is a secondary print on that torso. He does have the one face, but if you turn his hairpiece around, you can see he does have his secondary face. So there is good playability with this set, with its minifigures. Now, before we get into the actual build of the car, I just want to showcase a really cool Easter egg within the book. When you are building this set, you do see step number 87, and we do know what happens after 87 mile an hour. We have 88 miles per hour to go back to the future, and that is resembled here with the 88 being digital numbers with the little lightning bolts. And I think that is such a cool little Easter egg that when you thumb over from 87 to 88, you see that and you're like, haha, that's kind of cool. So that is our in-book Easter egg reference. Now let's take a look at our Time Machine DeLorean. And starting off with the side, everything you see with this blue is all a print. We do have two stickers here and there, and then we do have a printed piece right down there, as well as more of that printed silver stuff on the blue. Among other printed elements, we do have a completely printed windscreen, and right back here, we have some dark bluish gray that's printed on a translucent orange cheese slope. Looking at the side profile of the car, I would say they captured the profile of the car a 10 out of 10. Everything is done with a purpose, and it's done very well. We can see this roping all down the side and how it tucks in with these little elements on each side. Looks very nice, and it comes up here and it hides behind there and it locks in right back into there. I do like how it's dark bluish gray on this bumper cover and on the front. That's very accurate to the actual vehicle. We have traditional style mirrors to a Speed Champions-esque vehicle. That's really nice, as well as these fender arches. The odd thing is, the wheels in person, now that the car is built, they do work relatively well. I just can't get over the fact that this is slicks. Slicks on the Time Machine do not make any sense to me, and I am struggling with it. We do have nice printed wheel caps for these wheels, but it's just odd that it's slicks. That bothers me, knowing that these are the F1 style wheels on this vehicle. But it does look pretty okay, but I just know where they come from. Now looking at the front of the vehicle, the front of this vehicle looks remarkable. We do have a sticker for the DMC right there. The headlights are double printed on window pane, so if you take off the front of this, you will see 2 layers of headlights, because these are window pane frames and window panes used to make the headlights of the vehicle. So I find that really interesting that they can go either way. We have this print all across the translucent blue, and then we have some nice piece usage down here at the bottom to make that lower air diffuser that you find on a DeLorean. Looking at the actual hood of the DeLorean, it looks correct. We have some studs reminding us that this is Lego, and they got the profile and the shaping pretty much accurate. I like it a lot. Moving over to this side of the vehicle, it's pretty much the same thing. Same print, same mirrors, same black pipe running through the side. Same, not different. Looking at the back of the vehicle, we have a printed license plate that says out of time. We have these 2 little vents coming off the back. We have a nice layering technique for the lights to get all the red and orange and clear parts of the taillight captured. And then we have a sticker element that says DeLorean on the back bumper. And then coming down here, we have lots of nice smooth angled pieces and slopes to make that rear profile of the vehicle. Looking at the bottom of it, we can see that we have a normal chassis element to make up the car, as we would expect. Now, coming up over here into the back of the car, we still have where it takes the uranium, and like in the first movie, as well as the lightning rod to transfer the energy. This is using a fishing pole element from Lego. I like all the little Greebolt effects shoved back here. It does take a little bit of time to put it all together, but it's done oh so well. And it's finished off with a little bit more greebling right up here. Now, talking about this windscreen, I am not the biggest fan of this windscreen. They did try to print it to try to camouflage it, but it is a traditional Speed Champions windscreen. And once you notice the shape, it just does not look correct. But that's just what they do, so kids can easily take it off and plop in their minifigures in each of the spots. Now that we are in the interior, we do have the printed center stack with the plutonium gauge. That is a sticker. We do have a printed little calculator right there with the pull lever. And then coming back here, we have more Greebolt techniques, and then we do have a nicely printed element for the flux capacitor. Not a very detailed interior, but actually some details in this interior, which I find quite unique for a Speed Champions vehicle. Now this is a 2-in-1 set, and you are allowed to remove this yellow piece, this fishing rod, and these wheels to set it up into the second movie mode, as well as change the license plate, which we're going to do really quick for you guys. And I might leave it in that mode because, well, I already have a 1/12 scale that looks just like this from the first movie. So if I have another version of the car, shouldn't I make it from the other movie? And before I do that, I do want to show you guys really quickly that that is done with a handful of leftover pieces. So if you don't do this conversion, you will have these leftover pieces, which includes this printed Mr. Fusion, as well as these interesting techniques to make the wheels look like they're floating, and another little tile piece, which will show what that is in just a minute. Now, it is worth noting that once our conversion is done, we do have this many leftover pieces, which is the fishing rod connection point, the friction pins for the wheels, the top of the plutonium chamber, and the little plate for the out-of-time license plate. Now let's take a look at the converted Back to the Future movie number 2 car. And this is what it looks like all converted. We have our wheels now down facing, still with the prints to where you can see them, so it is accurate. That is done with these elements, with these little hooks and friction pins in them. It's funny, the wheels still do spin like this. It's kind of odd. But it just clips in to the bottom side of these little fender arches. Simple as that. We have the Mr. Fusion in the back here. And then our last little detail is the 2015 license plate with like the barcode from the movie. And that is our Back to the Future time machine. Okay, now this last one may not be as exciting as those first two were, and definitely is not going to take as much time going over all the details, but we have the McLaren W1 left to review. Now we do have a minifigure, which is a female racing driver. She is wearing a McLaren hoodie, blue legs, back torso print. She is holding the wrench. With her hair turned around, we can see we do not have a secondary face, but we do have the option to switch her hairpiece out with a racing helmet. Now, I'm not entirely sure if this is a new Lego piece, but I did want to talk about it really quick. I saw this and I started to think about the Hot Wheels Brick Shop cars we've been doing and how there's so many unique pieces like this with those cars and how Lego could benefit from making pieces like that. And I find it quite ironic that now we have this piece and we're on our way to having special 1x size pieces to make these cars even more detailed. Now let's get on with this review. And here we have the McLaren W1. And this thing is really a step back into the right direction as for Speed Champions. The car, it feels really good. It was a really strong build. Nothing too crazy to get it done. Just a nice old school but new school take on building a Speed Champions car. Now looking at the very top of it, we have our 4 stickers right off the rip. Boom, 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 and boom. We have those new pieces we see right here, which are basically these angled little triangular pieces. Just one short year ago, these would have been pieces that look like, well, I'll show you. They would have looked just like this on this very dusty Revolto from last year. They would have had the 2 studs in them. Now continuing on, we have our traditional suspects of slopes and angled bits all throughout the front. We have an interesting building technique for the snout of basically using hinge elements to get that to fold up just properly. Printed elements for the headlights and the McLaren logo on the very front. And we have a nice selection of basically butcher knives on each side, round elements, and these nice flat angled elements to make all of the front angles and everything of the front of the W1, which look really nice. We have our new, as of last year, type wheel covers for the wheels. We have more of those flat angled bits, triangular pieces. We have normal slopes and all of that, cheese slopes, and then we do have a printed piece right here, and that goes for both sides. Our windscreen is a printed element all the way around. And we do have a printed element right on the back for that engine cover right there. And that new piece I showed you earlier, it does hide deep down into here to kind of fill in that space back here for this building technique of this engine cover. Now coming over here to the back of the vehicle, we do have a printed exhaust pipe back here. We have some translucent red bits for possibly taillights. Then we have some of these interesting triangular pieces all throughout for the rear diffuser and more of those flat angled slopes. Now we do have a function of a moving rear spoiler, and that's done pretty much just by pushing that in and out. Not too exciting, but I guess it works. Popping off our windscreen, we can get a look at our interior, and our interior does have this peanut butter brown accent all throughout it with a little printed tile for the center of the gauges. We have a little steering wheel. We have an interesting technique for our mirrors on this one, kind of different. And then we just have some headrest, and then we have a little rear window right there that goes to nowhere. Looking at the underbelly of the car, well, everything is pretty much all these flat plates with a center chassis element, just like we would expect. We do have an interesting piece usage here and here. It's like a 2x2 tile with a stud tied to the front of it. Not sure if that's another new element to these cars, but I definitely noticed it on this one. And with that, guys, that is our McLaren. It just looks really good, but when compared to the others, it's just not as exciting as the Time Machine and Lightning McQueen. Now let's wrap up this video. Now, as per usual, let's just get the pricing and all of that out of the way. And to be honest with you guys, we're not going to talk about it. It's the same as the last video. There's really no need to cover it. $27.99 per car. Still not too bad, even though that we are getting competitors that are coming in about $5 less with a little bit more detail and a little bit more playability for the kids, and not to mention less trickier building techniques to get certain design things done, thus making it a little bit more durable. Don't get me wrong, I still think these Speed Champions are excellent cars, but they are finagling and trying to have their way on making certain angles and shapes using certain techniques that, well, as an adult collector, I personally do not care. But when you have a cat or you're a kid trying to play with this, these things will pop off and shoot off like rockets because they're just clipped in there. So that is one thing to note with these cars. There's a guy on YouTube, I believe, or TikTok who likes to put these things on like a spring roller and like shoot them into walls. And if you guys watch that, you guys will see what pops off first with how much force with these Speed Champions cars. I do find myself, as I build these cars, more and more from, when did I start? 2023, so about 3 years now into building these cars. Things are getting to where they are just a little bit more fragile, but yet they're still play cars for the kids, and I just really hope that, you know, these small parts are not getting lost or getting eaten by kids and all of that good stuff. Because, well, there's a lot of small parts to make these cars, and they're not held on very tightly. So with that being said, they are $28, but you just have to remember that they are getting just a tad bit more fragile. Now, talking about fragility, Well, I do want to say my number one vehicle out of all of these, unfortunately, is not the Time Machine. The winner clearly goes to Lightning McQueen. And I reference fragility with Lightning McQueen because I do believe out of all of the Speed Champions, all 6 of them, this dude is built the strongest. He is basically built with a core chassis, and everything is basically stuck to it using sideways mounting techniques and stuff until you build up to a bottom base of a car. Then you kind of build them up like layers until you get the whole car. And I just think this is a very strong build. This one is definitely good for the kids to play with. I don't mind the stickers because of what I said earlier. Just the techniques to build this cars. There is a lot of classic Lego building techniques that you would see from like modulars and things back in the day that are pulled forward into the modern day. And when you build this, you do see those techniques come back from the past, and they fit their way nicely into Lightning McQueen here. So this one clearly is such a great build. The Time Machine is very great as well, but when we've been getting the brick shop sets, I don't mean to keep going back there, and the way that they do their windscreens per vehicle, and you get such a really nice detailed windshield and roof with those cars, you would kind of expect something like that, especially for a DeLorean Time Machine. And when you get a generic used windscreen from Speed Champions with a print on it, it just looks boo-boo. And to state my point with this, and maybe I don't have to go as far as this, but I am going to. Just reaching over on my first shelf of what I believe is my 21, 22 Speed Champions, we have the Lotus with the same windscreen, the Mercedes with the same windscreen, the Aston Martin with the same windscreen, the Countach, same windscreen, and the Koenigsegg, all with the same windscreen. You can take this windscreen off of any of these nice, curvy, sportier cars and stick it right to the DeLorean. And I just really hate to see that for the DeLorean. It's like, I know we don't use this windscreen on too much of the newer ones, maybe just a couple, but it's just like, come on, I shouldn't be able to do it that easy for this car. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being overly anal, but that's just my thing with it. It's a good part. It's just made for sportier vehicles. It doesn't even fit the Countach all that well, but we can let it slide. But to try to make it look like something through an optical illusion is just crazy, and that's what they did here. And with that, I'm just going to put it to bed and stop talking about it because it's probably going a bit too far here. So overall, the car looks pretty good. Not too bad. And then lastly, we do have the W1, which I like to think is a genuine step back in the right direction. It is full of those tiny little parts that I do feel like it can shoot off, but not as bad as the Ferrari that we did or the Bugatti that we just did on our last video. So I do recommend all these sets. I do say if you are buying for a genuine 9 and older, definitely keep in consideration that some of these things, they just break off far too easy. Just as an example, look at that. Boom. Piece off, piece gone, dog ate it, it's gone. So you do got to keep that in mind with these cars. If you're an adult collector, check them out. If you're buying them for a kid, just double think it. And best case of scenario, buy this for your kid and also show them the movie from 20 years ago. And with that, guys, I don't have anything else to say about them. Check them out or don't. Price, not bad. If you guys enjoyed this video, please consider hitting the subscribe button to follow along with everything that we do here. As usual, hit the thumbs up, the like button. That would be incredible. Drop your comments down below. Love to engage with you guys. Have you built these? Are you on the fence? Is there any questions I can answer for you guys? Fire away. Up next on the channel, we will be going over everything that is to come in February. Things are coming out that's coming out in February that are quite interesting, but not completely. We do have some interesting things from Pokemon to talk about, so we'll go over in that video. And we'll talk about now 3 years on YouTube and what that's kind of like in short. And with that, guys, thank you so much for watching. You all have a good one.